This house in a low-income, high-crime neighborhood in the center of town is the center of attention now. All because of Tamra Keepness. She's been missing since 11 p.m. Monday night. Her brother was the last one to see her. So this is where Tamra Keepness used to live, a 5-year-old little girl who had a twin sister. She lived in this house with her mom and her stepdad and her 5 siblings. She used to play right here in this yard. Her favorite tree to climb was apparently just down the road.
She has snuck away, but never for this long and never very far. You know, I've always been able to go out and yell for her and, you know, she'll show up like minutes later.
Her mom described her as smart, like Einstein, and her sister remembers that she was a very brave little girl.
She was very outgoing. She liked to play outdoors a lot. She wouldn't let anyone boss her around or pick on her. She was a very tough girl.
So I was in the newsroom on July 7th when my producer told me, you got to head down to Ottawa Street. There's a missing little girl. It was summertime, and the regular national reporter was away, so I was sort of the next one up to cover this really big national story. It was the first time I'd done a national story like this.
Try not to fall apart and do my best to find where she is or find out anything we could find out.
So we don't actually know a lot about what happened the night Tamra went missing. She went to bed. It was July the 5th, upstairs where she slept with her siblings. Her older brother remembers seeing her. He was probably one of the very last people to see her alive.
I was sleeping and my sister was sleeping with me, and then when I went to bed and I woke up, she wasn't there.
So the next morning, Tamra didn't come down for breakfast, so her mom went up looking for her, and she wasn't there. It's really unusual for a child to just disappear, to go missing. If you look at the Regina Police Service's website, they list 17 people who are missing. Only one of them disappeared as a child, and that's Tamra.
We're doing the back.
There were search and rescue crews searching dumpsters and roaming through fields. People were searching on horseback. There were aerial searches. It was all hands on deck. Police say they received hundreds of tips and they followed up on every one of them, including a tip they got from a psychic. So at one point, the police then turned their investigation into, like, what actually happened in that home on the night Tamra disappeared. They determined that there were at least 3 adults that were coming and going in the home that night. Our investigation focused on those 3 people as well. We spoke with Regina Keepness, who's Tamra Keepness's mom, and Dean MacArthur, her boyfriend.
And I got up and I went and looked and she was gone.
I stayed away from home when I was intoxicated because I didn't want them to see me intoxicated. I just want to always let them know that everything is going to be okay.
There was one other guy we wanted to talk to, and that was a fellow by the name of Russell Sheepskin. Couldn't find him anywhere until he showed up at CBC, said, I hear you're looking for me, and I'd like to talk to you. And he sat down and did an interview with us as well.
The mom was always, how would you say, she was always gone. Like, I was babysitting. Most times, you know, she'd be gone for, you know, days on end. You know, like, I'd ask the kids, is mom home yet? You know, and they'd say no.
The whole picture of that night is very murky. And a big part of the reason is that all the adults had been drinking that night, and their memories were pretty hazy at best. It seems like police were coming to the same conclusion we were from our investigation, which is,
as many have hoped against, but also quietly feared, criminal interference with Tamra is a distinct possibility.
there were a lot of things that didn't make sense and weren't clear about what happened in the home that night. So just to give you an idea of the chaos that was happening that night, Dean MacArthur and Russell Sheepskin had been drinking pretty heavily, and at one point a fight broke out between the two of them right there on the front porch. Lorena says she was in the home and out of the home throughout the night. So to be clear, all of them say they had nothing to do with Tamra's disappearance and would never have done anything to harm her. And no charges have ever been laid. No trace of Tamra has ever been found 20 years later.
She's dead or alive. That's all I'm asking. Please bring her home alive. Please. Thank you.
It was really in the years following Tamra's disappearance that the whole issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women just became this huge national issue. But for us here in Regina, we already had an example right in front of us of just how important and how personal that whole issue can be. And for anyone who was in Regina on the summer of 2004, they're always going to remember Tamra Keepness. But unfortunately, over time, memories fade, potential witnesses pass away, and the likelihood of us ever finding out what happened to Tamra becomes even less likely. People here say they're frustrated but hopeful that one day Tamra Keepness will be found. Geoff Leo, CBC News, Regina.